Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are turning back to the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border, where President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump made dueling trips today, looking to gain an edge on the immigration issue ahead of their likely rematch in November. Biden met with border officials and called out Republicans in Congress for sinking a deal that would have bolstered border security. Meanwhile, former President Trump met with officials in the city of Eagle Pass, including Governor Greg Abbott. The two spoke with members of the Texas National Guard and looked at how authorities are handling the influx of migrants entering the U.S. from Mexico. Joining me now to talk more about all of this is Congressman Adriano Espaillat, who represents parts of the Bronx and Upper Manhattan. Congressman, welcome back to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again, Bobby.
So I don't know how much you got to see of Biden or Trump's remarks today, or see this sort of split screen imagery down at the border today, but what do you make of the fact that both men, the likely major party candidates in the election, were down there on the same day pushing their messages on immigration?
Well, two clearly distinct messages, Bobby. And of course, immigration is shaping up to be an important issue for this upcoming presidential campaign. And you can see the difference. I mean, on the one hand, I saw President Biden trying to learn from the trip and also bring about a bipartisan solution to the issue. And on the other hand, former President Trump was finger pointing and scapegoating and really fanning xenophobic views. I think it was a very distinct and different approach from each one of them. I'm proud of the President Biden, and how he handled it. And I think it's important that he takes this issue head on.
So what do you think about this messaging that we're hearing now from President Biden, that there was this bipartisan deal in the Senate that was sort of torpedoed by House Republicans? He's basically saying, look, we made a deal, Democrats came up with a solution, and it's the Republicans who made it, who blew it up. Is that sort of the right line of attack, do you think, for November?
It's accurate, and clearly that's been Trump's modus operandi. He calls and he gives orders. He's running a Tammany Hall type of operation in Washington, and the speaker is at his beck and call. And so this was a bipartisan agreement that is often very difficult to come about, and yet he torpedoed it. And of course, now he wants to weaponize the immigration issue and fan xenophobic views out in the country and confront people and divide people. I think that the president's approach has been one of consensus building, also hearing all points of views. I may not agree with everything that's on the table, but he's making a real effort to bring about a solution to the issue.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, what you agree and disagree with on as far as some of the issues that are being debated, because, that bipartisan deal in the Senate really would have cracked down at the border. It really included a lot tougher border security measures. There's also been talk of Biden taking executive action to effectively close the border when we see a certain number of migrants passing through in a given week, for example. Do you think those kinds of measures go too far?
Well, I'm a co-sponsor of the Dignity Act, which is also a bipartisan piece of legislation supported by Republicans and Democrats that has four major components. One of them is border safety. And I'm in agreement that the ports of entry should have greater technology. I heard one of the Border Patrol officers there talk about non-intrusive technology to detect fentanyl as it comes across the ports of entry to trucks or vehicles. And so this is important that we get this done, that the infrastructure money goes down there to the border and that they get the technology that they need to stop fentanyl and any criminal from coming in. But, most immigrants are law-abiding citizens and people that want to come and work to our nation. So that the stereotype that's being promoted by Trump and his associates is one that is inconsistent with the statistics and the studies made by Princeton University. Even the Cato Institute has revealed that 50% immigrants are 50% less likely to commit a crime than average U.S. citizens. So, I would like to see more border safety, but also there should be some immigration reform components for dreamers and perhaps TPS recipients, and of course, family reunification in an orderly way. There should be, the president alluded to the root causes of immigration. And I'm glad that he's taking a look at that, because this is a major, major crisis in the hemisphere. And we should be the leaders of the hemisphere and address it as well. And finally, the fourth underpinning is the economic impact of immigration, things like farm workers and work permits. I think those are so critical so that we can get back and dust ourselves off from the pandemic and get back to where we need to be.
Do you worry about what immigration policy would look like under another Trump administration? I mean, under the first Trump administration, you know, we saw child separation and a lot of other immigration policies that were denounced by Democrats as being inhumane and cruel. And now, you know, you hear Trump talking about mass deportations and detention camps. You know, policies could become even more draconian than they were before.
I think he will gut the asylum system, which, by the way, is a great aspect of America. You know, we should be still a nation that allows people that are fleeing persecution, that are fleeing violence, to come in and make their case. You know, no one should take advantage of it and come before us without having credible fear. But, you know, he will gut that. And that's such an important piece of America. It's really the backbone of democracy, that the entire world knows that we respect democracy to a degree that we would allow someone to come in that fears for his life because of a political prosecution or violence in their own country. So to gut that will be to gut America. So yes, a second Trump term will be very ugly.
Let me ask you about an issue that's been raised here in the city having to do with migrants, and that was comments made by Mayor Adams earlier this week. He sort of stirred some controversy, suggesting that some of the city's sanctuary city policies should be rolled back and that there should be more cooperation, more information sharing with ICE. And this comes, of course, in the wake of some very, very well-publicized crimes involving migrants. Is that something that you would support, more cooperation with federal immigration authorities?
Well, first and foremost, you know, I was appalled at the crimes that were committed against police officers and the likes by some migrants. But that is a very small minority. And to typecast and to throw a view out there that migrants are criminals is clearly mistaken. All the statistics shows otherwise. A mother coming with her children fleeing violence, not to commit violence, but fleeing a violent condition in her own country, is not going to come to New York City and perpetrate crimes. I think it's a mistake. I think that the system that we have here needs tweaking and needs reform, but it should not be thrown away.
All right, Congressman Adriano Espaillat, thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate having you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.